which today is doubling as our science lab because we are going to do a science experiment. It's our virtual science week, and we're going to start today with a really cool experiment about ice. But first, before we start, I want to review a couple of rules with you, okay? Are you ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Okay, so I want to make sure that you know that when you're doing science experiments that you need to have an adult with you, all right? Okay, you got it? The second thing I want you to remember is that in science, there are things that we shouldn't touch, we shouldn't taste, and we shouldn't smell. So I want to practice a couple of things. So I've got some substances here today, and you'll notice that I have spoons in my substances because I am not going to touch that with my fingers, because sometimes when you're doing science experiments, the substances that you're using can be dangerous, and we want to make sure that we stay safe in the lab, right? Okay, the next thing that I want you to remember is that we need to make sure that we don't taste anything with our mouth. So I've got some stuff here. This kind of looks like it might taste kind of yummy, and I could put it in my mouth, but I know that in science we don't taste anything, so I'm not going to put that in my mouth. The last thing that we need to remember is that we don't smell anything. Sometimes we are going to smell something, but I'm going to teach you how we're going to smell it, okay? We don't stick our faces right into the cup. We're going to waft. It's called wafting. You hold it up like this and you push the air towards your nose. Can you waft with me? Everybody waft with me. You just go like this. Just move your hands to the air. And you're wafting. Oh, it smells so great. Waft with me, waft with me. Ah, nice job. Okay, you got it? So we're not going to touch the substances with our hands. We're not going to taste the substances. And we're not going to smell. We're going to waft. All right? So today, we're going to do an experiment with ice and salt. And I've got a couple of different kinds of salt. I've got this kind of salt. This is iodized salt. And this is kosher salt. The only thing that's really different about these two things is that that for our purposes anyways, is that this iodized salt is a lot more chopped up. The kosher salt is bigger flakes. And so we're going to see if that makes a difference in our experiment. I've got some salt. I've got some food coloring. And I have red, yellow, green, and blue food coloring. I have some water. And this is warm water, not hot water, but warm water. And I've got some ice. I got some ice prepared over here on the side. I'll show you. I have it on a tray so that it doesn't make a big mess as it's melting. Okay. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is I've already put some food coloring. You can see that I put some food coloring into my containers. And now I'm going to add some salt. And I'm going to start with the iodized salt. I'm going to put a couple of spoonfuls of salt into each one of my little containers that I've got here. And, oh look, I had just enough. All right, now I'm going to take my warm water. I'll move these out of the way so you can see. I'm going to take my warm water and I'm going to fill up my container with, I'm not going to fill it up. I'm just going to put a little bit of water in there. Do you see that? About how much water I put in there? You see I didn't fill it up. But I want you to notice when you put the water in there, what's happening to the salt? Does anybody notice what's happening to the salt when I put that warm water in there? Did you notice? In mine, Oh, I'm going to give it a good stir here. Ooh, in mine, it looks like the salt is gone. What happened to the salt? I don't know. What do you think? Oh, I should have gotten a... Oh, you know what? I can just rinse my spoon off in here. Oh, okay, I'm going to stir up the yellow. Ooh, that made a nice, really nice yellow color. Now, to get the yellow color dark enough for what we want to use, it works best if you use a gel food coloring. But if all you got is just the regular old food coloring, just try to make it as dark as you can, okay? Now, oh, the salt has gone out of the yellow too. Oh my goodness. Oh, and now here is the green. Look how dark that is. You can't hardly tell that's green. It's so dark. But the salt, guys, the salt has gone out of that one too. Okay, and here we go with the blue one. Another really important thing about science is that you've got to be observing. You've got to be watching with your eyes all the time. Because you notice cool things. Like I noticed in my cups here that the salt in the blue was gone faster than the salt in the red. I wonder why that was. Do you have any ideas? No? Okay. Well, I don't know. We'll have to keep thinking about it. So I'm going to bring our ice out now. Now, I made 3 blocks of ice, but you can't really tell because the other ones are too small. This one is a little block of ice. Here's my medium-sized block of ice. And here's my big block of ice, which you can see. And that's already starting to melt. It's already starting to melt. So we're going to see what happens. Now, I've got my little, in science you would call these pipettes. We just call them squeezers in preschool, right? So I'm going to start with my red squeezer. And remember, when you use the, well, you know what? We're doing science. So we're going to say pipette. I'm going to take my pipette and I'm going to squeeze it out of the cup. I'm going to stick it into the cup and then I'm going to let go. And when I let go, my pipette fills up with liquid. See that? Okay, I'm going to start right over here on the big one. And I'm going to squeeze some of my red on there. And as I'm doing that, I'm noticing what's happening. Oh my goodness. That's crazy, you guys. It's melting holes into the ice. Do you see it? Do you see the red, how it went all the way down to the bottom? Let's try the yellow and see what happens. Why would this be melting the ice, do you think? I'm going to put some yellow on there and see what happens. Ooh. Can you hear it? It's crackling. What do you suppose that is? Ooh, look, the yellow went all down inside of there and it mixed up with the red and turned kind of yellow in there. Ooh, let's try some green and see what happens. Remember, squeeze the pipette. I'm going to stick it into the color, and then I'm going to let go, and then the liquid goes up inside. All right, you ready? Let's put some green over here and see what happens. Listen really carefully. Oh my goodness. Do you hear it? That is so cool. What do you suppose that is? And have you noticed that now you noticed the green went all the way down in the bottom there? Let's try some blue. also noticing that all the way around my block of ice are these like cracks and crevices. I squeeze my pipette and I let go, and I'm letting the liquid go up inside of it. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put some blue on there. Let's see what happens. Remember, we're listening. See if we get that crackling sound again. Do you hear it? Oh my goodness. Oh, now the little crevices and stuff in there look a little purple. Well, I'm going to just keep working on this and see what keeps happening to my eyes here. I'm going to try the middle-sized one. And let's listen for that sound that we heard before. Not so much, huh? Wonder what that sound was. Hey, you guys, at the top of my big block of ice, I'm going to turn this over here and see if you can see it. There's big holes in the top of it now. See, look at that. Look at that. Ooh, it looks kind of like a rainbow on there. And let's look at the bottom. Ooh, can you see the bottom? The color went all the way through, and there's the side. And when you do this experiment at home, you'll see that all along the sides, there are these crevices all along in there. That is pretty cool. Well, I could be here all day doing this experiment, you guys. I'm going to have so much fun seeing if I can get the rest of this ice to melt. You might wonder what I was planning on doing with this kosher salt. Well, I'm going to take some of this kosher salt and I'm just going to put it on top of this little block of ice that I had here. Do you hear that? It sounds like popcorn. What could that be? What is that, you guys? So what we're doing, if I put more. Oh my goodness. Here, let's put some on the bigger block of ice and see what happens. Ooh, it makes such interesting noise. I wonder what happens if I put it over here. And you can't really see it, but my cookie sheet that I've got my ice blocks in is almost filled with water because my ice blocks are melting so fast. So I think that we figured out that ice will melt if you put salt on it. It also makes really cool noises when you put salt on it. Well, everybody, I hope that you have fun doing your project today. Make sure that you stay safe. So the first thing that you're going to need to do for your project is you're going to need to get some ice. Now, I made my blocks of ice by just putting them, I just used some plastic containers and I put them in the freezer, and it took quite a long time. But you could also just use ice cubes and you can get the same effect, all right? So you need to have some ice. You're gonna need to have some warm water, some containers to put your food coloring in, and you need some salt and some spoons. Now, if you don't have these little pipettes, you can just use a spoon. It works the same way. You can just scoop some of the color up onto your ice. And I hope that you have a lot of fun today making your ice melt with some salt. Have some fun with science, because science is fun, but make sure that you stay safe. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody. I love you.